Understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie wowie! That felt good! Yowie wowie. Let me in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Abby's Window. And we've been chomping at the bit for this one since Friday night. This is going to be, and it's also the first in a kind of a new direction that we're taking with the podcast a little bit as we go on this week and going forward. So we'll let you know a little more about that before we end the show. But again, welcome to Abby's Window. It is a Monday, and we are fired up for this one. This is going to be a great show. As always, with me today, we have my co-host, Jeff, and of course, Jodie is with us today to talk all things Bray Wyatt and everything we saw from Smackdown on Friday night. So let me say hello to some people, and we will get right into it here. Let's see. We have Mikey Mayhem. Mikey Mayhem is in the chat, and he was first in the chat. So there you go. And he beat out DJ B Tazzy. Timbo Wyatt is in the chat. Hello to you. Shane Loki is in the chat. Kevin Correa is in the chat. We have Rusty Shackelford. Our friend Rusty is in the chat. How are you, man? Good to see you. We've got Butterspark is in the chat. James Chadwick is in the chat. Famous KJ Carter. Shout out to you. Mike Lister. Good afternoon to you, Mike. Hope you are doing well. We've also got Creed in the chat. Callan Corner. Jesse Callan is here with us today. Shane Loki from Facebook. How are you? Welcome. Nails and NY in the chat. Also, John Cena Gamer 0809 is in the chat. Hello to you. Meme Collector 30. Hello to you as well. Sean Slaslovich is in the chat. On vacation in Vegas, he said. Still right. Listen.
Jealous.
That's awesome.
Very jealous.
Yes. Megatron 1000 is in the chat as well. Austin 316 is here. Dave in real life is here as well. And yes, so it looks like we've got a full house. The sexy woman Eva Marie's got to be Dave's fan. Welcome to you as well, man. Insiders Army also here from Periscope. Awesome. So let's get right into things, shall we? It looked as if we were getting nothing. Didn't hear anything, nothing previewed or anything like that going into SmackDown. So a lot of people were kind of wondering, is anything going to come out of SmackDown at all? We heard some stuff about Roman Reigns and, of course, about Jey Uso. And then, of course, we heard about Bailey, that situation. And, we heard about some other things going on and AJ Styles, but we did not hear anything about Bray since last week. We told you guys last week there was some stuff going on where that Funhouse segment was pulled from overseas replays and also pulled off of their YouTube page. So kind of got everybody a little nervous and wondering, well, what is going on here? So we know we got the Wobbly Walrus thing that kind of leaked as well. And then people were thinking, well, is that the reason why? Did they take it away? Did it stop? Well, obviously they did not. Now, what I'm thinking is, and we'll get into this a little bit, I'm kind of thinking that maybe that might have been a partial idea, and they decided against it, and they decided to just go forward with it, and it might have been due to the fact that Wobbly Walrus was leaked. So again, we can get into that a little bit as we go, but let's start on SmackDown, shall we? And let's go right into it. Now, before we got into the Funhouse, we did see a fatal four-way women's match, which, yes, as you can see on the screen, everybody went absolutely crazy when this happened. I know I did. I know a few of our friends did that I was talking to. I know Jeff did as well. And when you saw Alexa Bliss hit a Sister Abigail on Nikki Cross, and then just kind of walked out of the match, walked up the aisle as if she was in a trance. I mean, look at the hair. There's more braids in the hair every time we're seeing her. So what is going on with Alexa? And this was an amazing, amazing moment. So let's start there. Jeff, I know you marked out. You sent me a text right when it happened. So tell me, man, what were you feeling when you saw that go down?
I was very surprised because it came out of nowhere, which was really cool. And yeah, it was a little bit crazy. But and I didn't mean to put that up there. That needs to be deleted. So, but yeah, it was just out of nowhere. But I really just seeing how Alexa started to behave was very interesting. And I felt like at that point, I think I text you that maybe she's the friend, and then I thought about it and I said, you know what, maybe that's too obvious. Yep. So I really, really, really thought it was cool, because now it just shows another added layer to this story that what in the world did that mean? Does it mean that she's completely let him in? What's the deal? And I really like the fact that we don't know, and that makes it cool. So I was really happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I completely unexpected. When I kind of knew she was going to attack Nikki. I had no idea she was going to use that as the move she attacked her with. So I like the comment. Who was just Mikey Mayhem just threw a comment up there. He had said, I think Alexa is more woman obsessed with the Fiend rather than turning. That's very interesting and a very cool comment. Jodie, what did you think about the Alexa Bliss and using the finisher, using Sister Abigail?
Oh, I thought she nailed it. We were actually sitting outside when it happened. So we were sitting outside just kind of talking and glancing over our shoulder, and I happened to catch it. So I would have completely missed it had I been doing something else. But I was like, oh my gosh, she just did a Sister Abigail. They were like, what? And yeah, I thought she nailed it. And I really like that comment too, that it's more like a woman obsessed. And a lot of people too have compared it to, Harley Quinn and Joker, and how she was kind of more interested in him than he was in her. And I definitely really love the slow build of this. Like, this has taken a long time, and I love that. I think I said this last week too. I think Alexa being the friend was going to be too obvious, and I don't think she's ready yet. She's still changing. She's still progressing towards this person that she's going to be. And yeah, I thought she nailed it. I thought it was great. Big jaw-dropping moment. Super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I loved it. I thought, like you said, she pulled the move off very well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, look, I mean, it's like everybody's been talking about. This is something that everybody kind of wants to know, because they're doing, it's almost like it's a simul story, like a simulcast story going along with Bray's own story. So it's really cool in the fact that, yes, I mean, obviously there is something going on there. Now, whether or not she is, like the comment was made earlier, whether she's obsessed with him and whether she's just going to kind of, this is her way of turning into a heel, but maybe she's going to act a little more heelish than she ever did before. And she's going to be a lot more like the Fiend. Somebody in the chat said maybe she's going to have her face painted at some point, or wear some kind of a mask at some point. There's so many different ways you can go with this, and yeah, like Jeff said, and Jodie mentioned it too, what's cool is that we don't know what's coming. It's hard to figure out. It's hard to tell what story it is, and like Jodie said, it's long-term storytelling. Yes, and yes. Give me more. I'm in. I like it, and I think it's awesome. Joey's Adventure says, since it looks like Roman versus Fiend will happen, what if both Alexa and Bray win the Royal Rumble matches next year? Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, you can think long-term like this, and you can wonder, I mean, are they going to give Alexa a push? I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
She's been good. She's been great on her own as a solo act. So, I wouldn't doubt it one bit. I mean, when Alexa is involved, it's big for the women's division. Now, she kind of stayed away from taking a lot of hits because she was injury prone, and she kind of stayed out of the mainstream a little bit and stayed out of the singles competition. But hopefully, this signals that she is doing better and then can go and do something on her own. So, yes, more and more we will see what is going to happen with Alexa, and I'm sure we'll get more and more of that as it goes. All right, so let's get to the actual Funhouse. Now, again, this came kind of out of nowhere. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know whether we were getting a Funhouse at all. Of course, they did say that the week prior, so I kind of hoped so, but then with everything that went on, we weren't sure. But so we got a Funhouse, and they announced it was coming up. Pretty much early in the show. And we all knew he was going to introduce us to a new friend because that's what we heard last week. So a new friend was going to be introduced in the Funhouse. Now, we get into the beginning of it, right? And yes, so he comes in and we're being told about this new friend. So all the puppets are kind of gathering. We saw the little snippet before the commercial that had the welcome sign with Ramblin' Rabbit and with Huskus, and they were kind of setting things up. And then, of course, when we got in, we see, like you see on the screen, we saw the balloons, we saw the box, we saw Huskus, and we saw Ramblin' Rabbit. So everybody was probably, at that time thinking, okay, this has got to be a puppet of some sort. I mean, if it's in this box, maybe somebody kind of sticks out a hand from the box and it's this puppet. Well, rest in peace to the persevering parrot. Pasquale, the persevering parrot. We have never known ye, and yet we will miss you. So, yeah. The poor parrot was left in its box with no holes in the box, and he didn't make it. So, yes, R.I.P. Pasquale, says Mike Lister. So I like this, and I'll tell you why. I like the fact that they called it a persevering parrot. And I like that because could this be a little jib from Bray at Vince McMahon? Could this be a little jib? And we'll get to Vince later because there's a lot of interaction with the Vince puppet here. But could this be a little jib at him saying, I'm persevering, I'm moving forward, I'm good, everything's cool, yeah, maybe it took that belt off of me and blah, 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 but I'm persevering. So I like that. I dug that. I kind of thought it might have been a little hint of something there. But yes, of course, long live the parrot. He has passed on. And so we also got, and Jeff, I don't know if you have this on the screen, but throw up that screen where it says the less you know. Did you have a picture of that? This was absolutely amazing because if you guys don't know, and again, this kind of goes back to the 80s a little bit, 80s and maybe early 90s, NBC ran a campaign on their channel called The More You Know. And they would put this up there with that same, almost the exact same graphic with a little star that used to shoot across the screen.
Word art.
Yes. And the fact that they did this and what Bray's doing in that picture, when a lot of they would have celebrities help them with this campaign. So when a lot of them did it, they would do something similar to what he's doing there. The thumbs up kind of a thing, the wink and everything like that. So this was absolutely amazing. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. Fantastic. So yes, absolutely love that screen. That picture's amazing. And love the callback to the 1980s when TV was just absolutely crazy. So then we get a knock at the door. Yes, there it is. We get
good old Vince.
Good old Devil Vince knocking at the Funhouse door. And Vince comes in. He tells Bray that, long story short, he tells Bray that, the Funhouse is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and the Funhouse needs something and, needs an advisor, says Devil Vince. So, and then we get Wobbly Walrus. Yes, yes, there he is. Wobbly Walrus Heyman. I mean, come on. The bald head, the scruffy hair in the back of the bald head, because we all know Paul's got that, that little bit of hair still behind his head. Of course, Paul's exact suit, literally the shirt, the tie, the suit coat, and the little hanky that Paul wears. I mean, without a doubt, Paul Heyman. So, all right, I'm going to let this go. Go ahead, Jodie, tell us what you thought when we first got the dead parrot, and then when we got Wobbly Walrus.
We were sitting on the couch, and I literally just could not stop laughing. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And again, I kind of think it might have been a little stab at Vince, you know, because you're now kind of saying, well, Bray could easily come out and say, you know, Vince was the one that made me have an advisor, and kind of pushing the blame off a little bit. So I definitely think that's something we could see going forward, like Wobbly Walrus and Bray kind of having a fight, you know, like a little bit of a disagreement at times. They butt heads a lot. I definitely could see that going forward, but I thought it was just hilarious. We were just sitting on our couch in stitches because it was so funny. And that coincidentally is the creepiest puppet of them all.
Yeah, that is without a doubt the creepiest puppet. Yes. I mean, he even came out and gave the ladies and gentlemen, except it was disguised in the, you know, and the really low, the low volume and stuff like that. But yes, I mean that absolutely is. I mean, look at the eyes with the blood around the outside of the eye. That is a very, very creepy puppet. Yes.
It's a creepy puppet for sure.
Jeff mentioned the movie Tusk. If any of you has seen it, I have not. I know about it. And I was just kind of looking at pictures of it. And yeah, if you've ever seen Kevin Smith's movie Tusk, you may want to go and check out the images of that. Because, yeah, that's what we're looking at here. Jeff, when you saw this, I mean, obviously we kind of maybe got the impression that we weren't going to get this because we figured, well, it must be down the road because they, you know, they just got the copyrights to this. It's probably for something a long way down the road. And then we kind of got swerved a little and didn't think that this was going to happen so soon. But when we got it, man, what were you thinking?
Man, first thing I thought about was Justin Long in Tusk. That's the first thing that I thought about. And then I said, wow, this is really, really accurate to Paul Heyman. They took a little bit of time with this one and it really made this as close to Paul Heyman without absolutely pissing him off that they could. But I just thought it was hilarious, and it's something that we weren't guessing because, like you, Joe, when we heard about this copyright last week, I said, well, surely they won't do this right now because it's too early. And, you know, credit to them for pulling this off in the amount of time that they did because, you know, they definitely got this going the right way pretty quickly. But yeah, I just think that, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm weird and I like the movie Tusk, but I just think that there's so many parallels to this. And I don't know why. I mean, there's just there's just no reason for it to be that way right now, but I really think that that this is like drawing some parallels. And honestly, even when you look at the movie Tusk, there were some things in that movie that were kind of a parody of other horror movies. Even if you look at the character that Johnny Depp played, his character in that movie was just completely over the top, and it's almost like they were trying to go that route with this character. You know, Paul Heyman is the loud, obnoxious person that we love to hate, and Wobbly Walrus had to have subtitles. So there's that juxtaposition between the two, where it's like we always know what Paul Heyman's saying, so much so that we wish we didn't sometimes. But with this, we had to have subtitles because his voice is muffled. So just the little nuances like that in a character like this make it really fun to break it down like this. So yeah, I thought it was really a really cool little moment. So
definitely,
if you think about it though, like every character in the Funhouse is an extreme version of somebody else.
Right.
So you've got Huskus, obviously, with Husky Harris. Bray is an extreme version. Funhouse Bray is an extreme version of Bray. You know, they all are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And Mike Lister, shout out to you because I'm thinking he has a handkerchief, and those are fish in his pocket.
Are they?
They
Yeah.
are fishies. Yes,
They
they
are
are fish in
That's
his pocket.
funny.
Yeah. That makes it even better. Look, this was so like you were saying, the muffled voice, like the and yeah, I mean, just so good, like the muffled. Look, I mean, you know that Paul Heyman knew this was coming. You know he had. I'm sure they had mentioned this to him. I mean, if they didn't, and they surprised him with this, that would have been a really funny sight to see when he did see this. So, I mean, yeah. Now we got to look to see. All right. So what does this mean exactly? Now they did say Vince said he's an advisor to the Funhouse. So does that mean, like Jodie had mentioned, and Jeff, I think, kind of alluded to this too. Now, does this mean that he's going to be kind of keeping Bray in check in there? Is this going to be the puppet who's going to kind of lip off to Bray a little bit and kind of make sure he does things a certain way or the right way? And I mean, we did see the big to be continued sign on the end of the show. So this is not over. Yes, this was priceless.
That was my favorite part because
Priceless.
my 2-year-old has been doing that now for days. He'll put his hands on his face and go, "Oh no."
Priceless. Absolutely
Amazing.
priceless. Yes. I mean, when he did that, when the two puppets are on both sides of him and they're both kind of looking at each other and staring at each other, and then Bray just puts his hands on his head and just gives you the, oh no. Yeah, I mean, this was priceless. Like, what am I going to do now? I have the worst two people that you could possibly imagine now in the Funhouse in the form of puppets. I have Devil Vince, and I have what is probably as close to a devil in WWE as Paul Heyman is. And now he's got those two in the Funhouse. What is he going to do? So, yeah, I mean, it's continued. I'm sure we will get the rest of it or another part of it this coming week. Bray is home alone, says oh, great shout, dude. Yes, great shout. Bray's got to be a big movie fan, man. I look, I mean, so many references come from things. I'm almost tempted to send a picture of Wobbly to Kevin Smith and be like, yo, dude, like, check this out. You know, you're in pop culture again, man. But yeah, it's so good. Like, and just, yes, his face, you know that he's thinking, dear Lord, now I have to deal with this on top of Devil Vince, and now I have to have an advisor who is. But listen, I mean, the story of it all is now, obviously the ties are still there to Roman. So we had talked about this last week. You know, I mean, Roman is kind of going on his own thing with the Uso match and this and that and the family and stuff. And now it looks as if they kind of tied Bray back in here with this puppet. So, I mean, or did they? I mean, could it just be a possibility that the puppet is just there as what they said it was, and that he's just going to kind of be a tormentor of Bray? We'll go to Jeff first. I mean, Jeff, what do you think this is going forward? So let's do what we always do on the show. Let's theorize a little bit because, I mean, you know, we wouldn't be here if not for that. So what do you think is going on here? Do you think now, I mean, now people are kind of saying, all right, this is going to lead to Clash of Champions. We're going to have, but obviously we can't. Roman's kind of busy doing his own thing there. So, you know, is Bray going to have a match at Clash of Champions? Is this going to lead to something? Is he going to skip it all together and maybe this leads to the Hell in a Cell, or it goes a little further down the road? Or do you think that the puppet is just what it is just, you know, a manifestation of a guy who is, you know, considered to be like a slimy guy in WWE? And is he going to just be a thorn in Bray's side in the Funhouse, essentially?
Yes. Short answer is yes. I think this represents, if I can go here, I think it represents all of the naysayers and people that are trying to tell Bray what to do and how to do it and how to proceed, and the people that think that he needs someone else to tell him how to do this whole thing. He's getting bombarded in the Funhouse We saw the episode where Postman Pierce came in. Now we're starting to get all of these visitors in the Funhouse when we initially thought that no one can really go visit the Funhouse. So I think that's what this represents. But I think what happens as a result of this is that this drives Funhouse Bray absolutely mad. And in turn, it makes the Fiend darker, more powerful, and a more formidable foe for Roman Reigns when we get to that point. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we have that at Clash of Champions or Hell in a Cell. I think this is going to be a slow burn. I think it's going to be a slow, kind of gradual turn that we see. Right now, when we see Funhouse Bray, he's all happy-go-lucky, and even in this shot where we get the to be continued, he's being funny and silly, but at the same time, it looks like there's also genuine anger deep inside of his eyes. So we start to see that maybe these little seeds are being planted where he's just gonna go off the deep end, and when that happens with Funhouse Bray, how dark can we see the Fiend get? Because it's going to take that, we think, at this point, especially with how they're building Roman to defeat Roman.
Very good call. Yeah, very good call. So, yeah, all right. So Jodie, what are you thinking here? Are we going to get this soon? Is this a long-term thing that's going to go down the road a ways? I'll be honest. I would love to see this puppet end up being the puppet that Bray kind of beats up. We've seen Ramblin', of course, yes. Ramblin' dies a lot and things like that, but Bray really doesn't do anything physical to him. It always happens by, Mercy the Buzzard always kind of does him in. Now, it wouldn't make sense for Mercy to do anything to if they're going by things like that. A walrus would be kind of big for Mercy to screw with. So is this going to be the puppet that Bray kind of ends up like beating up on and getting so frustrated with that he kind of, I don't know, he kind of does things to the puppet with the hammer in there? Who knows? But what are you thinking this is going, Jodie? Where do you think it goes next?
I think long term, we could see the Fiend and Funhouse Bray become one person, and they kind of become an amalgam, if that makes sense. So in order for that to happen, Bray has to snap. And I agree with a lot of what Jeff is saying. I think that Wobbly Walrus is going to be that constant thorn in his side. And we've seen it with Ramblin' Rabbit too. He'll pop up and say something and Bray will get really mad. And, like he popped up and said something and Bray grabbed him by the head and pushed him back down. So I think Wobbly Walrus is going to be a more extreme version of that. And he's going to be this irritating little toddler, I guess. And I think slowly, this is going to be a slow build, because if you remember all of the history that him and Roman have, it's extensive. They had a big feud that kind of culminated at Hell in a Cell. If you remember, they had a really big match at Hell in a Cell. So I definitely could see possibly the Fiend interfering in Roman's match at Clash of Champions, but not really doing a whole lot. It's obviously not going to cost Roman the match or anything like that, but we could potentially see the Fiend or Cult Leader Bray or something, somebody against Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, I would agree. I think something is obviously brewing here, or you wouldn't have put a puppet in there that looked like Paul. So there obviously is something happening.
And two, that connects him. Paul Heyman connects him to Brock as well. True.
Yeah, very true.
And they were supposed to have a fight, but they didn't, because Bray got hurt, didn't he? He got injured.
Yes.
So they never got to have that fight.
Yeah, that's very true too. Again, so there are so many possibilities that you can have with it. And now that, obviously he's connecting to this other personality. I'm sure that, this is something that can be used in potential vignettes when he's messing around with Paul Heyman and when he's messing around with, look, and I've said this to you guys 2 weeks ago when Roman got in with Paul Heyman. I would love nothing better than to see Mr. Heyman get attacked by the Fiend.
Mhm.
I would like nothing better. That would be one of the all-time best Fiend attacks that I would. Oh, that would be.
And maybe that's what we see at Clash of Champions. Maybe Paul Heyman is ringside, and the Fiend pops up and attacks Heyman instead of Roman, and it kind of distracts Roman.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be. Absolutely. David Real Life says, how will Abby take to this new character in her house? Hasn't she got enough on keeping control of Mercy? Abby didn't look too, like Abby was saying, I didn't catch what Abby was saying in the window. I didn't catch what she was saying there because she had said something. And I was trying to go back, and when I tried to watch it again, I was just trying to catch it, but it was hard to hear because there's other things going on there. But I'm kind of guessing she might not be too fond of either Devil Vince or Wobbly Walrus. Just a thought.
I don't think she's fond of anybody, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. So
I agree. Yeah, Abby doesn't seem like she's too happy where she's at. Let's see. I hope they go with Roman versus Fiend at Hell in a Cell. That you have Paul Heyman and Roman cutting a promo, and Wobbly Walrus interrupts. LOL. Says Mike Lister. Yeah. I mean, look, it's so cool. I mean, I love all this. I really do. I love what they're doing. I mean, listen, guys, we had been hoping for a return of some of the things we used to see. I know all of you guys were saying that, I wish the Funhouse would go back to being the way it was. I wish it would go instead of being just the backstage stuff and everything during the show. Well,
now it is.
Now we have that because obviously they're in this bigger arena now. They have their own room they can go into to do these kind of things, kind of like they had the studio with Tom Savini when they first did them. So they're not saddled by being backstage in a live arena, and they could kind of do this stuff. So it's cool. We also got the puppet sightings again. We saw the puppets in different places. We saw Ramblin' Rabbit where Alexa was. We're seeing that again. And now we're seeing these full vignettes, which are filled with everyone. I mean, this is the first time we've seen Abby in a while. I mean, Abby hasn't been in the Funhouse very often. They couldn't get her in the backstage Funhouse because there's no place to put her. You have to kind of have her in that window, and there was no place to have that. So without making it look stupid and having it be just a picture of her there or whatever. So this is the first time we're seeing a lot of this stuff, and it's really exciting. It really is. They can really build this up again. Similar to how we always talk about things going in circles with Bray, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had the Funhouse around this time last year. So, and it led up to SummerSlam. Now, what's to say we just don't get some Funhouse episodes, some really, really cool Funhouse episodes now that are going to lead to whatever we are getting next. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really, really happy. I'm thrilled with all this that's going on with the Funhouse, and I'm glad we get to see the things that are here. So, yeah, I mean,
I think eventually Bray. So if you think about this, if you watch a lot of like psychopath movies where you've got this like psychological thriller and you've got this antagonist that's the bad guy, they always eventually get lost in their own madness. And I think that's what's going to end up happening to Funhouse Bray. He's going to get lost in his own madness. And if you go back to the circle theory, that's when he disappeared last time. When he went off of TV and he left TV for a year, and he about the patient and being in a psych hospital and all of that, he got lost in his own madness. So we could see that circle back around again, and he gets lost in his own madness.
Yeah, very true. Days Fan wants me to read, I'm so up for Fiend versus Brock if this is what this is leading for. Yeah, that would be cool, dude. That would absolutely be cool. I don't know when Brock
I think it's
I don't know when he's
going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brock may stay away until he really knows that he's really needed, or WWE may keep him away until he really knows he's needed. But yeah, I mean, look, I would be up for that as well. I would absolutely be up for that as well. And it's cool too because it's hard to figure out who the villain is, who the heel is, who the face is when you have these kind of matchups too. So I think that's cool too. We just had, and yes, we did say we were going to wish KJ Carter a happy birthday because we will not talk to him before or talk to her before the 17th. So KJ Carter, happy birthday on Thursday to you. Everybody in chat, wish KJ Carter a happy birthday. Here, I'll give you one from Vince. Happy birthday, KJ Carter. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. So, hey, how can you?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
Happy
to you.
birthday.
Enjoy your birthday. And again, thank you for being such a cool part of our community and joining us every week. So, all right. So let's, so we speculated a little bit and we thought of, where's this going? I mean, the other kind of thing that's getting talked about and it's kind of gaining a little bit of steam here is the whole thing with Roman and is Roman and Paul Heyman, are they starting a faction? A lot of people are kind of saying this now. They might have they call it the blood with the Usos, and they get some of the other people from the family in there and start something like that. And if so, could the puppet here be a way for Bray to bring people on? That rumor's still floating on about there. I've seen a gazillion rumors about people that he's going to, lock up with, whether it's, oh my goodness, Eric Rowan, whether it's other names that have been mentioned. I'm trying to think now. Lars Sullivan was the name that was mentioned.
Abyss.
Abyss is a name that's being mentioned. I mean, is this maybe what's going to happen? So if they're not going to go directly with Bray versus Roman, could this be where, they're starting a group? I mean, could both of these guys be kind of, we know that, look, I'm not, me personally, I don't know whether or not that's a good way to go or a bad way to go. Listen, it would be cool if we saw all those people. I would mark out if I saw Abyss. I absolutely love Abyss. Character Abyss. I mean, we did see him on Raw. On SmackDown with AJ Styles a few weeks back. So he is there. Whether or not he would don the Abyss personality again, I have no idea. But I mean, it would be fun. Personally, I think that the Fiend character is better suited to be himself. But look, it maybe and maybe you don't even get the Fiend for that. You might get Funhouse Bray. If Funhouse Bray is the guy that's in charge of all these puppets and doing all the things with all these puppets, maybe Funhouse Bray could be a puppet master kind of a person if they ever did decide to come back with any kind of a group. So where there's sometimes smoke, there's sometimes fire. We don't know, but it has been making its rounds all over the place. Jeff, what do you think of a possible thing if they're not going to go forward with the singles match, and if Brock's not coming back, and if Roman's going to kind of go his own way a little bit, could we maybe see something building up with Bray and something building up with Paul Heyman, where he might stable his own version of a faction, and then Bray is going to kind of counter that? Could you see something like that happening?
Yes, absolutely. I already think that the Fiend / Bray are kind of puppet masters already. We just don't know that yet. Because if you look at Seth and you look at Finn, and now you look at Alexa, you could argue that they are his puppets and that he is pulling the strings. So I think that that's definitely something that we will continue to see evolve, whether we have new puppets, so to speak, that come along. That could be very possible. I think it would be really funny, and I don't know, this is just kind of a spur of the moment thing. I didn't even really think about it until now, but I think it would be really funny if by having Wobbly Walrus in the Funhouse, that somehow leads to a change in Paul Heyman. And we then begin to see Paul Heyman take some of these other names that we've heard rumored to be affiliated with the Fiend and create a separate faction that's still kind of tied to Bray, but not necessarily with Bray, because he doesn't need, in my opinion, he doesn't need a faction to do his bidding. But what he could have is a faction affiliated with him that just does it anyway, but at the direction of Paul Heyman, aka Wobbly Walrus. So I think that that's maybe something that we could see happen down the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, like I said, a lot of times these rumors come out and you don't really know where they start. You know, they get started in dirt sheets and things like that. But this one's been going around for a little while and it doesn't seem like it's dying off. A lot of people are talking about it and a lot of people are wondering whether or not. But that's a great shout, Jeff. I mean, yeah, he doesn't obviously need, and I love, C Wrestling has mentioned this in his video, so credit to him. I love the inclusion, like Jeff said, of the people that he has affected before. I love the fact that he is including, you're talking about Seth Rollins. Does Seth kind of go into that same trance that Alexa is now when he's doing things? I mean, that's been mentioned. Finn Balor now has the title down in NXT, so you might not be seeing as much of things going on with him as you had before when he was the heel Finn. It kind of looks like he might be turning a little bit, but yeah, I mean, could this be something? I mean, Jodie, what are you thinking about this? I mean, with these people that he's rumored to be getting, if that's what happens, if that's what's going to go on, whether they are going to make something similar to that, it's not going to be the Wyatt family, because the Wyatt family was a once in a thing. I mean, you had, those four guys were just they were a force, they were a group. And the Fiend wouldn't even, like I said, necessarily have to be a leader of this. And Jeff had mentioned maybe it's going to be Heyman that's going to do something. I mean, what do you think if they go ahead and forward with something like that?
Actually, me and C Wrestling were talking about this on the phone earlier during my lunch break. Okay. And I said total fantasy booking, but it would be a way to have faction versus faction. It would be a way for Roman and Bray to have a feud without the title involved.
Yeah.
So if you really want them to have this feud, but it not be, well, obviously Bray's going to lose because Roman's not going to drop the title, blah, 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 blah. Take the title out of the picture by creating these factions. So you could, at Hell in a Cell or down the road or Survivor Series or whatever, you could have the new Wyatt family versus the new Shield. And that was a huge feud. And obviously with Heyman, I said, my fantasy booking, and my husband was the one to point it out, actually. I said, what if, Heyman's making a new Shield and it's Heyman guys? And I said, so you'd have Roman, you'd have Brock. I said, but I don't know who else, you would add to that. And my husband just goes, who else was a Heyman guy? I said, who? He said CM Punk. So
yeah, he was at one point.
Total fantasy booking. You could have Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and CM Punk against the new Wyatt family. And that would take the title out of the picture, but it still allows Bray and Roman to have this big feud.
Yeah, I mean, you have Survivor Series, which is coming up very soon, and that was a thing that they kind of got away from it a little bit. Now that it seems like they only have, last year they did brand versus brand. So you had Raw versus Smackdown versus NXT last year. I mean, they could kind of go back to what they did before, where they would have these faction wars, so to speak, where one team fights another team. And yeah, that's a great point, because if they don't want to involve it with the title, and if they want to take the title out of the picture, this is a thing. This is a way to do it. I still think, and I know, again, this is me, coming up with my own kind of thing here too, but I still think, and I can't help but think of the finger poke of doom. I still think with Jey Uso that something may happen where he lets Roman win. I don't know whether that's going to happen, but it could be something that could happen where he might just let Roman win. Because look, remember when Roman gave that speech last week to Jey and kind of saying that, hey, I have to keep this because I have to be the one basically in charge. I have to be the one that keeps this in the family, not Jey. So, maybe Jey gets to thinking, okay, this might not be such a bad thing. I'm going to get in with Paul Heyman. I'm going to get some, I'll get some title shots and blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, I'm going to let Roman just have his, let him have the title, let him be the one who's in charge. And maybe Jey somehow lets Roman beat him. I don't know how they would do it. I mean, yes, James is saying boo, the finger poke of doom. I mean, let's hope it's not something that bad again, because that was really
was terrible. Joe, before you go on,
yep,
because I I want to give a shout out here to Dave in real life. He says Punk, Brock, and Roman all new Dangerous Alliance. There was something that was mentioned not this week, but the past week when we saw Jey Uso get into the Fatal 4-Way match, and I don't know that very many people picked up on it. He referred to Paul Heyman as Paul E. When he did that, now obviously if you know about the history, Paul has been around his family. He managed the Wild Samoans, obviously Fatu, his father Rikishi, he managed them, but it's really odd and suspicious that he mentioned Paul E, because when's the last time any of us have ever heard anyone in WWE call Paul Heyman Paul E?
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. I think this is an opportunity for Paul to be changed back into his Paul E. Dangerously days.
By an attack from the Fiend.
Yeah. So I think that's the seeds that are being planted right now, because honestly, there's no reason to call him that unless that's foreshadowing.
That's a good call, man. And look, we have Wobbly Walrus.
Oh.
Interesting. The plot thickens.
So you could potentially have the Cult of Wyndham versus the Samoan Dynasty.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
because they keep referring to Roman as the tribal chief.
Yes.
There is a reason for all of these things to happen, and I honestly believe that this may be the part. We're seeing the groundwork laid for that to happen right now. I truly believe that I think that's where we're headed.
Man, Jeff's on fire today.
And like you said, that would take the title out of the picture and still let them have that big feud.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Great call. Great shout.
I love it.
Great shout, man. Yeah. Did anyone notice that? Tell us in the chat, because I certainly didn't. Man, that's a great call. James Chadwick says, "Will Heyman bring back that massive phone?" Oh man, Joshua Nicholson says hello. Hello to you, funny. Joshua. Oh man, hello to anybody I didn't say hello to, by the way. Monica King, I see you lurking in the chat there. Hello to you. Kyle Scully, hello to you. Yeah, man, it's so good. Like, again, if that kind of stuff happens, I mean, look, WWE I really like the direction they're going with SmackDown. SmackDown is a must-watch show. There is no question about it. SmackDown is must-watch. With everything that's going on, with the stuff with Bray. Of course, we're all in for the stuff with Bray. The stuff with Roman. My goodness, Bayley turned in an amazing promo. Who would have thought I would have said that? Bayley was amazing last week. Yeah. I mean, look, SmackDown is on fire, and I don't know. I mean, we were talking about the draft upcoming, and there's smoke and stuff about the draft coming up too, because now they're saying that they were thinking October, Triple H was saying, and now they're saying it might be moved back a little bit into September, which I was kind of saying, watch that day after Clash of Champions, watch that day, because that might be the start of it. And but I don't know now. I don't know if I want them to do that, because I don't know if I want them to move anybody off of SmackDown now. Because I'm liking all the stuff that I have that's going on. So I don't know that I want them to shift anything around or move anybody around from there. I mean, obviously the people who we had said would benefit from it, like Braun Strowman, of course. You know, it looks as if Braun might be out of the picture with Bray now. It doesn't look like we're getting anything with Braun, unless, of course, they do start, like Jodie said, if they're going to call it Cult of Wyndham. How cool would that be? Going back 6 months. That has been going back 6 months that was mentioned.
Yes.
So, if they start something with that, and maybe Braun would be a part of that, which I'd be fine with. But if not, he'd be a guy who would definitely benefit from a new start over on Raw if they move him over there. But look, I mean, do any of us really think that Fox is moving any of these guys?
No.
No way. No way.
Definitely not Bray, and definitely not Roman. They're their two biggest superstars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just don't see it. And they're starting all these amazing stories with all these guys, the fun houses week after week now, and the stuff that Roman's going with. I mean, you've got things going on with Big E in the background. Is just they're just really. I mean, SmackDown is without a doubt the top show, no question about it. Raw's got catching up to do. Now we're seeing, what is it tonight? Raw in your face, right in your face. Vince has to rewrite that, so let's hope he didn't have to rewrite all the scripts tonight and they get because Raw needs to catch up. Raw really needs to catch up.
It's funny because Raw used to be the A show.
It was. Yeah.
It really was. Like what? A year and a half ago?
Well, remember when we had that Raw, we talked about that Raw that Heyman did where Bray was like having it was basically the Fiend's show. When you had all those weird things, and then at the end you heard that demented Funhouse theme go up when the credits rolled at the end of the show. Yeah, I mean but look, it has definitely changed. It has definitely changed. Austin says Raw, the show is the A show, A for awful. Yeah, Raw hasn't been good, dude. I would agree. They got to get going with something with Retribution. They got to get going with and decide what they're going to do with that underground thing. And just, I mean, look, the cool thing is SmackDown was kind of in this position a little bit as well when we were kind of in between things. We weren't getting Bray on the show all the time. Roman wasn't there. They were kind of in jeopardy too. Sami Zayn wasn't there. Hey, Sammy's making the SmackDown fun too, man. That guy cracks me up when he comes out. I love his energy. And so that's making it good too. But
you should see him in real life. I mean, I swear, like, I don't know what that dude takes, but he is hyped up. I mean, just watching him, like, being there live when he was out there, he builds so much on the fans, and he gets them all riled up and yelling at him, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's
Sammy's
a big
great.
ball of energy.
Yes, he is.
He is. Sammy's great, man. I love to see him back. And I think really Raw is building it up with certain people. I mean, look, everybody is in on Dominic Mysterio. They're building that up. And of course, tonight we have him. I think it's a cage match, right? Is it a cage match tonight? With So, I mean, you got that going. And Raw just they need a couple more big faces, maybe a couple more big returns, maybe a big for Retribution. Brock, yes. I mean, Big Dan 5309 says Raw is stacked tonight to try to challenge Monday Night Football. Good point. Because yes, this is the first.
And going forward, there's going to be Monday Night Football, so they need to stay that way.
Yes, there is. Yeah. That's
a
great call.
And I think too, as we're looking at this, especially if they do another draft, I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing a shift of how they view these shows. Obviously, Fox is the big money player in all of this, and they want to draw as many eyes as possible. So I think if they keep SmackDown stacked, what we'll end up seeing is newer talent on Raw get this opportunity, and that show will be more about the younger talent and folks that they're trying to get over, as opposed to having more established people there. Like, I still think they'll keep Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and those names there, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is going to sound crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if after Becky Lynch has her baby and Seth takes some time off, that he eventually ends up on SmackDown to make some of this happen, where we're seeing some of these stories kind of join together. But I think I think Raw at this point going forward may be all about presenting us with new faces, because a lot of the times that Raw viewership has already seen the established people. So now I think we're going to start seeing more newer talent get an opportunity on Monday nights to freshen that up a little bit. But I think SmackDown is going to be the big draw show that brings people in, because they want to keep this relationship with Fox going. And they know that, with these Sunday football games and all of that, we're going to see all of these promos during football games on Sunday, and maybe you'll get the casual fan that tunes in on a Friday night now because of what they saw on Sunday.
Great call. Great shout. Rusty wants to know, so when Cross gets called up, what show do you think he will go to? Look, I've said
I'd
this.
like to see him on Raw.
Yeah, I've said this on our podcast. I think Karrion Kross is done in NXT. I don't think he goes back. I really don't. I think he's going to take care of that, take care of the shoulder. I think he's going to be out the 4 to 8 weeks, and I think he's done. I think he might come up in the Rumble, and that may be the first time we see him on the main roster, but I think he might be done down there. I think he's just too big. Maybe to be confined to NXT, and I know that's kind of weird to say. NXT's been really good, and I'm not saying it's not, but I think that maybe Cross comes up a lot sooner than we think. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. Jodie, is there any? I was looking through. I think there was at least one piece of new merch. I know there was one piece of new merch.
There's a new shirt.
There is a Wobbly Walrus shirt. Yes, boy, that came out quick, didn't it? It's funny how a plan comes together. That just like Roman, when Roman came down to the ring and had that shirt on, boom, just like that, it was in the shop the very same night. There is a Wobbly Walrus shirt on the shop under Bray Wyatt. Of course, when you go in there, just click on Bray's face, and it takes you to a gigantic list of merch. Underneath his name, there's everything under there that you could pretty much ever want from Bray Wyatt. So yeah. All right. So I just want to give you guys, I know we're getting on about the time. We're going to get out of here today. Listen, again, I appreciate all of you guys. Again, a happy birthday to KJ Carter. We hope you enjoy your birthday. Just going to give you a little preview as to what we've got coming up. So we are, again, we're always evolving. We're always changing, and we're going to change up a little bit this week too. Obviously, our Impact stream tomorrow night is the same thing as always. We will have Impact tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Nothing's changing time-wise. We're just kind of changing a format a little bit. We, on Wednesday, on our podcast, are going to do some different things. Jeff and I are going to have our favorite moments of the week in wrestling. So that is going to be a new segment that we're starting. Going to have Gary Cassidy be the guy with the news. So Gary will still give us his audio, and he will be the one to talk about the news with you guys. So you'll get caught up on that. Jeff and I will kind of look at more of like a favorite kind of a thing and go with that a little bit. The debate segment, we may be moving to its own show at some point. So we'll see. Of course, once Jeff gets moved in and things go for him and everything gets settled, with his new job and things like that, we may make the debate segment a new show. And we may have that its own separate thing. We're doing all this because we want to have fun. We want to laugh. We want to enjoy all of this. And I think, Jeff and I had a conversation last week. The both of us kind of agreed that with a lot of wrestling stuff, we just see a lot of, just a lot of unhappiness, a lot of negativity, a lot of that kind of stuff. We're going to try to stay away from that. And try to go forward being a more positive show, being a more, what are we seeing that's really cool? Kind of like we did tonight. And everybody here was excited. You heard great comments from Jeff and Jodie tonight about, what we're looking forward to and about SmackDown and how excited we are to see SmackDown. We're going to kind of do the same thing on our podcast this week also. So we hope you join us for that. As always, please subscribe to our channel if you are new. If you haven't already, I know I see a lot of the same faces with us every week on Abby's, like I'm seeing tonight. But if you are new, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Today, please go and hit that like button on the video. Please, that helps us out tremendously. Share the video with others. If you liked the podcast a lot tonight, share it as well and let everybody know how we love The Fiend and how much we all enjoy the Bray Wyatt stuff and the stories that we're getting from him. And then later this week, of course, we will return to a Brandy segment, which is a hot tag. I know you guys had a lot of fun with that last week. I kind of popped in a little bit and got to listen to a little bit of it, and it was a lot of fun. I heard Jeff, I heard Brandy, I heard everybody kind of talking and chatting in there. So yes, and join DJ B Tazzy later tonight. By the way, he is back tonight with his after party. So after Raw, let's hope for DJ B Tazzy's sake that there is a good Raw, so he doesn't have to clamor over a lousy show, which he's had to do on several occasions. So So all right, let's go to Jodie for some final thoughts. Jodie, what are you most excited about this week? I know we got that to be continued sign. What are you most excited about for SmackDown?
Definitely seeing where this goes. Obviously to be continued, so I'm excited to see what happens next. I also do want to take a second to give a major shout out to Scott Dorsey, who I had commissioned to make me a new piece of Bray art, and he just finished it. You guys can see the pictures up there. He actually messaged me today and said he's just waiting for it to finish drying so he can put some varnish on it and send it out so I can put it up on my wall. Awesome. I'm really, 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 really excited about it. If you guys haven't gotten anything from Scott, he's a fantastic artist, and this will be my 4th Bray piece from him. So he does have prints up that you can buy. I know Bray has a big version of one of the prints that he has up for sale. And obviously you can commission him to do whatever you want as well. So I sent him that picture and he said, no sweat, I got it. And also I do want to give a big shout out to Bray as well. Because he decided to follow me on Twitter this week. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we mentioned it on the podcast last week. That happened on last Wednesday. So there you go. Hey, you know, we always say, you never know who is listening to shows. You never know. And maybe he lends an ear every now and then, even if it's just for a few minutes. We don't know, but yeah, that's awesome, Jodie. Congrats.
Thank you.
And the art is tremendous. He does a fantastic job. I've seen a lot of his stuff. If you haven't, go check him out on social media. And again, if you are an art person, you like to collect art and things like that, yes, he does amazing work. So go check him out for sure. And yes, check out Dorsey Art. And again, you can see the pictures up there for yourself. So, all right, guys. So that's it. We're going to let you get going tonight. I hope you all enjoy Raw later on this evening. Hopefully it's going to start getting a little bit better. I mean, it is, of course, in your face. So we'll see, how good in your face actually means. But yeah. Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. We hope that you'll join us tomorrow night for Impact Wrestling. Impact is always fun, and we don't have NXT in the way this time, so no NXT tomorrow. That goes back to Wednesday. So does AEW go back to Wednesday. So, well, yeah, why not come and join us tomorrow for Impact? Enjoy Impact's a blast. Jeff will tell you it's a great. Jodie's been in the streams. We have a ball doing that, so don't forget to join.
It's a lot of fun.
It really is. I mean, don't forget to join us tonight for Impact, or tomorrow night rather, for Impact at 8 o'clock, 7:30. We start a little early. We will see you all then. And again, guys, have a great night tonight. Great rest of your week. Enjoy what is going to come on SmackDown on Friday. And you can bet, as always, we will be here to talk about it with you all. Anything with Bray related, hey, hit us up. Hit us up on social media. Send us the comments. Send us the DMs. Comment on the video, whatever you guys want. We are always around to talk to you about Bray. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your night, and we will talk to you very soon.